Greetings, everybody. I know I said I was going to do less knife reviews, but I'd already ordered this one, and it's kind of neat, so I don't know. Maybe it's here, so I didn't buy it for the reviews. I bought it because I wanted it. So we'll see if anybody likes it. It's this. It's the KaBar D2 Folding Hunter. So the model is called a Dozier. Been around for a while, actually like 20 years. They did upgrade the steel. It's a lightweight Zytel handle. It's got a thumb stud. It's a lockback. It's just a really cheap, like $37 or something with the D2 steel. And I kind of like those, lesser expensive. Like my QSP Penguin, that was like 40 bucks. All right, the Benchmade Bugout is just here for size comparison. And then the other kind of small, single blade, easy open, locking and stuff like that. We've got the Civivi Elementum, and we've got my Civivi Appalachian Drifter 2 or something like that, which is a front flipper, which not as crazy about, although this one does work pretty well. And the way they put it up on the top, you can actually snap it like that. So this is like, I think 70 bucks. This is like 55 bucks. Same price as this. And of course you got 140 for that. But what is it? Let's take a look at it. So this is one that I don't know why I didn't buy one earlier. It's known as one of the best budget EDCs just for its cheapness and all that. But then when I saw it was D2 steel, I was like, all right, let's give it a look. Simple packaging. Any of the specs on the back? That's all they give you. The blade is just like just a scooch above 3 inches. Just wipe it down. Uses oil all over it. Not too bad. Not like a lot of knives. So what is it? Well, it's a simple, drop point, almost a spear point, but simple drop point. It's very light. What I liked about this was, and I would say, if you wanted a knife that was, you wanted something like a Bugout, but you didn't want to spend $140 for $100 less, saving $100. You could get something like that. Now this will be S30V and it's a little faster and it's got that nice swingy blade and all that stuff. But when it comes to cutting and using, I don't know if it really makes much of a difference. That flicks open. Doesn't want to close all the way that way, but you can still close it one-handed. It's multiple steps, but it works. It does have a pocket clip. It is reversible, which is nice, but it is tip up only. It has a, looks like a T8, Torx 8 bit, that you can screw that. And I like that even though it's a single screw, which sometimes lets the thing wiggle a bit, there's really no wiggle in that because that gets, it goes right into that channel there, which is kind of cool. So what do we got? Well, we've got a blade that does fire open. There's really no play in it. That I'm sure will loosen up. I don't know if it's got washers in there or if it's just up against the plastic. Don't really know. I will oil it and, we'll break it in a little bit. I'm sure that'll smooth out. But even just out of the box, it does fire open pretty well. If you're a lefty, you are in luck because what you can do is, that looks like it's probably like a T4, maybe a T6. You can loosen that and take this off and put it on the other side. And you can put the clip on that side. So this is fully reversible and because it's a lockback, not a liner lock where you're pushing in this direction, which means then you have to kind of awkwardly pull. Because it's a lockback, that is ambidextrous already. Ambidextrous, not ambidextrous, like so many people say. It drives me nuts when they do that. So out of the box, and the edge feels pretty good. I strop every knife, just to get the edge a little keen. But, I'll strop it just to make sure there's no burrs. But that is a nice... Can't complain with that out of the box. Push test? Think it'll do it? What do you think? No, won't do a push test. Well, or maybe it does. Maybe it just depends on how you catch it. This little guy does. My QSP Penguin. So let's see, what do I actually like about it versus the others? Well, unlike, it doesn't have the steel liners. So out of all of these, This one is pretty light. Those are fairly thin liners, and they are milled out. And then the rest is just a little bit of carbon fiber and micarta. But this is, I mean, let's close this so in case I drop it, I don't cut myself. If this is 1.8 ounces, this is 2.1. I mean, it's almost bug out. Yeah, see, that's where you'll have to get it to loosen up. And I can also loosen up that pivot. I mean, my Benchmade wasn't actually that slick when I first got it. I had to give it just a... And I always do that anyway because sometimes blades loosen up. They don't put Loctite on that. Use blue. Blue Loctite, not red. So what I'll do is I'll take this apart real quick. And, yeah, so it looks like the only thing holding it together is that. And then that pinches the back half. Unless that's one piece. Is that... I don't know if there's a seam in there. I don't know. I'll take it apart and play with it. But it's a coated blade. It's D2. I wish I could have gotten different color. They have a lot of different colors, but not for D2. For D2, this was the only color combination. And it looks interesting. It's different. I mean, that's kind of weird looking. The gray with the green. This is blue and bronze. But it's not too funky. But they're about the same size. This is just a tiny bit bigger in the blade, and this is a tiny bit bigger in the handle. It's a little bit thicker, but we're not talking much. But it does give you a good purchase. The placement of the clip, it's not as deep carry. I will say that. I do like the deep carry on this. So this, if you carry this with the pocket clip, it is going to stick out a bit when it's blue. So I guess against jeans it wouldn't be too bad. But it's going to ride fairly high. I would say that would be the one thing I would change about this, would be to have the clip go into that same channel and then have it kind of come up and around. Because this is like a really deep Perry pocket clip. So that's probably the one thing I would ding it on. The blade's decent, as far as size, as far as thickness. It's actually just a little bit thicker. That's why it weighs just a little bit more. But I would say that tip is definitely, when you look at the tip there, let's focus on just the tip. Let's see, hold these like this. You can see the Dozier is definitely a thicker, beefier knife, while still falling in that size and being incredibly light. There's no steel liners in here. Just like this, it's got some steel plate up in here for the locking mechanism. But other than that, there's no steel liners here, which is why it flexes so much. This is flexing a little bit, but look how much, I mean, I can just with that finger, I mean, I can almost get them to like touch. Here, it's thicker. Squeezing just as hard, it moves, but this is definitely a sturdier feeling knife. This one is nice quality. I love the Benchmade, love the sweet action on it, and I love just how light it is for having an S30V and just, a nice, very good slicey, utilitarian, on a light scale blade. But it does feel a little bit like a toy. You feel the plastic, and it makes it feel cheap. The amount of flex you get in there, it does make it feel cheap, and it's not. It's $142 or something like that. So this one is just as small. I will say that. You don't feel that at all. Where that falls is up there in that natural void. So when I hold it, at least in my hand, there's no hot spot there. It's up right there in between the fingers, so it's not pushing. I feel like I could do, some decent cuts with that. This has got plenty of traction. I would say it's about the same, except there's more of it. So here you have that traction, but only right there. This feels like it might be just a tiny bit more, like those points might be just a tiny bit sharper, but it covers a wider area. So I feel like it grips a little better. The handle's a little bigger, the blade's a little smaller. I can get a full hand on that pretty comfortably. That one, ergonomically, God, which one do I like best? This one, it's just a little bit wider. So this way. So it just fills the hand a little bit more. Other than that, I mean, they're pretty damn close. In size, in weight, obviously much better materials. But you're also paying triple. So a little more than that. You're paying 3.5 times for that than you are for that. Comparing it to these feel nicer because these feel a little bit, you got metal liners. This one, you've got the chipped carbon fiber, which has a really cool look to it, over steel. But these things also weigh a bit more. So if you want something that is, these are kind of, I'm putting them in a different class because plastic handle, super lightweight. That's kind of that, locking blade, easy deployment. You get into these, you're talking McCarter, you're talking carbon fiber, and micarta, nitro V steel instead of, D2. This one is D2. And so is this one. But again, carbon fiber. So these ones are nice, but they're a little beefier. This one weighs like almost double what this does. Even though this is small, the carbon fiber isn't as light as you'd think it would be, and those are fairly thick steel liners. Steel standoffs. The blade's pretty tall. There's a lot of steel there. It's pretty thick. So this, for its size, it's nice. It's a reassuring weight to it. It feels sturdy. But if you're looking for like simple down and dirty lock back, you want it just to be open, have the blade lock in securely. There's no wiggle. That's pretty impressive. That's a nice little knife. I'm going to take it apart, oil it, and then set the pivot just right with Loctite and get it to where no wiggle. You got to have that balancing act, right? Where you want to have just enough. You want to make sure it's tight enough that it doesn't give any wiggle side to side, but you don't want it to pinch and bind it. You want it to be nice smooth. It ain't going to be like that. But for $100 less, does it need to be? Yeah, that's all we got to do. Adjust that pivot and oil it. Very, very cool little knife. That is the KaBar Dozier in D2. Now, if you don't care about D2 and you want whatever the other steel was, I don't even remember what it was. This is a basic pocket knife steel, but D2 is a decent, tough steel. It takes a good edge. It's easy to strop it right back and when you dull it. But the grind on it looks pretty damn good. Is that a hollow grind or a flat? It's actually a hollow grind. That is a bit of a hollow grind. Point is nice and stabby. Yeah, effortless. So might not be as good of a slicer as this one. This one's going to be a thinner blade, but I mean, again, just for pocket cutting tasks and stuff like that, that's a pretty cool little knife. I like that. I like cheap, light plastic. With these, you're like, oh, the handles will get beat up, but when you got wood or something really nice, or if you got titanium handles and you drop it and it gets scratched, here it's like it's plastic. You don't worry about it as much. I know some people say, well, it's a knife, it's a tool, don't worry about it. Anytime you spend a bunch of money on things, like my $250 Cattleman knife that I've got from Boker, I love that thing. It's such a cool knife, but, it's got polished nickel steel and curly birch burl or something handles. It's a gorgeous. It's a work of art. It's old world craftsmanship, and it's $250. So I don't want to send that one skipping down the driveway or something like that. But plastic one, I'm like, whatever. So there you have it. There's the Dozier. Pretty cool little knife. Would have been nice with a non-coated blade, but I haven't seen one in D2. So maybe they're going to come out with other ones. They got all different colors and even different blades, and they have one that has a thumb hole, kind of like a Spyderco. They've got one that's more of a clip point. So they do have a couple other styles, but if you want the upgraded D2 steel, this is pretty much your only guess, or your only option. So there we have it. Nice sturdy little knife. Let's take it apart and oil it and adjust our pivot, and we'll see if that makes it heavy into our rotation. I like how light it is. It's very, very Benchmade Bugout-esque. So that's what I would compare it to. There you have it, the poor man's Bugout. Without being a clone or something like that where you're buying the Bugout, but a cheap made in China version. This is their own design. They've had it for 20 years. They've decided to improve. People said, it would be great if you could put a little tougher steel on it. So they went and did that. Not a bad little knife. Made in Taiwan, not China. It's only real markings on the blade. D2 4062, I guess that's the model number. Taiwan, and then Dozier design. A little bit of billboarding, not too much. For you folks that want to do your Spidey flick, you're out of luck. You can't do your cool, look what I can do, look at that. Like every freaking knife reviewer is now doing. It started like a year ago. I know people knew Spidey flick for years. Yeah, some people have. But I noticed in reviews about a year ago, a couple people started, and it's like everything else. Everyone's like, oh, that guy's doing it. I need to do that on my channel. I'm going to be that guy that doesn't. Screw the Spidey flick. It's gay. I don't want to do it. It's inefficient. This is much quicker. So anyway, there you have it. I'll stop rambling. There's your knife review for the day.